We're going to continue the process that we did before with angle sums of polygons. We talked about triangles with all the sums of the three angles adding up to 180 degrees. Every time you go up by a side, we increase by 180 more degrees, which means that a quadrilateral is not going to be 180. An extra side would make it 360. Now, let me show you a couple ways you can think about that might help you remember. As long as you know that a triangle is 180 degrees, the quadrilateral is pretty easy. I can take this rectangle and do this. If I put this right down the middle like this, now I have two triangles. The sum of the angles of this triangle was 180 degrees. The sum of the angles of another triangle is 180 degrees. So altogether in this rectangle, we've got 360 degrees. That's one way to think about it. Another way to think about it is if I have the same rectangle, and I think about a rectangle having all 90-degree angles. All these angles are right angles, every one of them. Okay. So if I do 90, 90, 90, and 90, or if I do 90 times 4, the sum of all those angles is going to be 360 degrees. So if you can't remember this, as long as you know that a triangle is 180, you've got a couple of ways to do it. You could split it up into two triangles and do 180 plus 180, or you just know that a rectangle has all right angles. 90, 90, 90, 90 is 360. Now, what I want to do first is I want to look at this quadrilateral right here. We've got a parallelogram, okay? Top and bottom parallel, side to side parallel. We know that all the angles in this shape are going to add up to 360 degrees. And it's really just as simple as the triangle ones are. We can use the same types of strategies. I'm just going to label this A, B, C, and D. And then I can put my problem as A plus B plus C plus D has to be 360 degrees. All these angles have to be the same. So first I'm going to replace the A with 100 because it already tells you that A is 100. Next, I'm going to look at this and see that that's got one arc, and that has one arc, meaning those are the same angles. So for C, I'm going to put 100. Basically what we just said was angle A is equal to angle C. Now another thing that we know looking at this picture is that angle D is the same thing as angle B. So those two have to be the same thing no matter what. So let's look at our problem here. So far we've got 100 and 100. So far we've got 200 out of the 360 we need. Okay. So there's a couple ways we could do this. We could just put in numbers for these and see what they are. I know it's not going to be 100, so we know that for sure. So I'll start lower than that. I'll start at 50. Okay. So if we have 200 so far, another 50 and another 50 would be 100. 200 and 100 would be only 300. Not enough. Maybe I'll bump it up to 60. So that would be 120 together. 60 and 60 is 120. 200 plus 120 would be 320. Not big enough. Let's move up to 80. Let's pretend I say it's 80. Okay. 80 and 80 is going to be 160. Add the 200 we already had plus 160 and we get 360. So these are definitely going to be 80. Okay. 80 and 80. Now another way to do this is if we didn't know it was 80, we already have 100 and 100 is 200. So far out of the 360 we have 200. So I could just subtract that and get 160. Okay. Now I know that between the next two, or the two that are missing, it has to equal 160. We also know that these are the same thing. So we have to have the same things that make 160. And we should know that 80 plus 80 is 160. Okay. So they're not always going to come out and give you three angles and then you can find the last one. That's too easy. Everybody can do that. They will do that sometimes. And actually the practices you're going to do today will do that. But a lot of times they will just come out with something like this. You've got to make the conclusions, or you've got to tie the pieces together. But it's really simple as long as you think of all four have to equal 360. Yeah, I almost like to think of these problems as kind of like being like a puzzle. A puzzle you have to solve where you only get some of the pieces. And I think it's kind of fun that way because you have to try to use your own reasoning or your own logic to come up with this. So we've got another quadrilateral here. It's got 4 sides. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, it doesn't look like a quadrilateral that we're used to seeing. It's not a rectangle, not a square, those kind of things, but it is definitely still a quadrilateral. Same deal. All the sides are going to equal 360 degrees. So we're still going to have A plus B, and I mean all the angles are going to equal 360 degrees. That's my fault. Okay. Now here we've got quite a few things we can do. Okay. First of all, we know that A, and let me draw this so it's obvious here. A has that square corner there. Okay. That symbol means that is a right angle. So I'm going to take this out. I'm going to put 90 degrees right in there. We know it's a right angle. We've got a couple of arcs here that mean that angle B is equal to angle D. Okay, we've got a couple of arcs, which is good. I could also write this angle ABC with the vertex in the middle is equal to angle ADC. That's another way you might see it, but it means the same thing as long as that vertex is in the middle. Okay, so if this is 50, and we know that these two are the same, this is also going to be 50. So I can cross out D and put that in there. Now we only have one side left that we don't know. So in order to do this, it's pretty easy. We could just kind of guess and check our way through it here. Let's add up what we have so far. 50 and 50 is 100. So we have 190 so far. So we basically have 190 plus C equals 360. We could do a couple things. We could guess and check to try to figure out what it is. I don't know. Let's see. 190 plus 200 would be 390. So that's too much. It's 30 too much. So off of that 200, let's take like the 30 off of it. So 170. So 170 plus 190 is 360. Okay. And if you couldn't figure it out that way, you could just pick numbers to go in there and make sure it works. I mean, you can just try things. 150. Okay. 9 and 5 is, let's see, 9 and 5 would be 14. So that wouldn't be it. That would be 200. 340. That wouldn't be enough. Okay. Just keep trying things. Now, you can also do this. We can take this 190 and we can subtract it from the 360. We'll take away the 190 that we already have, and it'll give us what's left. Let's see. So that would be 0. Then we would have our 7 right there and our 2. Not our 2. 2 minus 1 would be 1. So it is indeed 170 degrees. Lots of ways you can kind of logic your way through these. As long as you know that that quadrilateral, everything is going to equal up to 360. All right, last one we'll do, so we'll try to get through it pretty fast here. We don't have anything basically labeled on the picture except for, I know it's a rhombus because all the sides are the same. But we do have a lot of stuff over here. Okay, let's just break this down. Angle A is 20, it says. Okay, so we can just fill in the blanks. Angle A, 20. Angle B, 160. So I can actually just put those right in here. 20, 160. Okay? It says angle ABC is equal to angle ADC. Okay? These are the vertexes. So ABC is the same as ADC. Okay? So this angle needs to be the same as this angle, meaning it would also be 160. Last part we have angle DAB, which would be DAB, which is this one, would be the same as BCD. BCD. Those are the same. 2 arcs, 2 arcs. That's 20, so that has to be 20. So we'll take C, we'll make it 20. Now we should have everything we need. 160 and 160 is going to be 320. 20 and 20 is 40. 360 plus 40, or 320 plus 40 is our 360 we're looking for.